Guys, it's your girl T, and I want to go ahead and shout out Jared Myers and Shirley Renee on Twitter. Shirley always sends me and the Vice TV show all types of video requests and stuff on Twitter, so I'm glad I finally get a chance to shout her out. So a lot of people have been sending me this video, including these two. It's about the situation that went down in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's concerning the single homeless mother. Her name is Shanesha Taylor. And what happened is that Shanesha had to go to a job interview, and because she's homeless, she didn't have anybody to watch her 2 kids. She has a 2-year-old child and a 6-month-old baby. So she had decided to leave them in the car with the windows cracked while she went into this job interview. Well, the car got very hot. The kids were crying, and thank God a stranger was walking by and they heard the kids crying. They ended up calling the police. So when the police got there, she came out and she was arrested. Her mugshot, this whole story is just really, really heartbreaking. I'm going to go ahead and play you guys a news clip, and then I will come back with the rest of my commentary.
Tonight, a Valley mother, as you see here, in tears as she's booked into jail, accused of leaving her 2 young children all alone inside of a car with no air conditioner.
And Carrie, as you know, this is something we have sadly seen many times before here in the Valley. Temperatures can soar quickly inside a car. Thankfully, this time the children are okay, but mom is facing some serious charges. Andrew Hasman has been following this story, and he has the latest on this. Andrew.
John, police tell us the temperature inside that car got up to over 100 degrees. 2 kids were inside. That mom was here in Scottsdale for a job interview, and she went on that job interview and left the 2 kids in the car. 35-year-old Shanesha Taylor clearly upset about the situation when Scottsdale PD took this picture yesterday. Police say she left her 2 young kids in a hot car for more than half an hour. According to court documents, a witness heard one of the kids crying inside the car, which was parked in the sun in a large parking lot near 90th Street in Shea, outside where the mom was having that job interview. When police arrived, one of the kids was crying hysterically. The 2 children are 6 and 28 months old, and according to police, both of them were sweating profusely. Police believe the children were in the car from at least 12:06 until officers arrived at 12:44. When Taylor finished that job interview and came outside, she told police she was unemployed and couldn't find a babysitter. So she decided to drive to the interview with the children around the children's nap time and hoped she could leave them in the vehicle sleeping while she attended her interview. It is only about 80 degrees here in Scottsdale, and we've got our infrared thermometer here. We've left our live truck out in the sun for maybe 20 minutes or so, not nearly as long as those kids were left in the car. And you can see the temperature here, 99.7 degrees, approaching 100 degrees in just 20 minutes. That mom, again, booked into jail. She's being held on a $9,000 bond. Her kids are now in CPS custody. Reporting live in Scottsdale, I'm Andrew Hasman.
So you guys just saw the news clip, and there's a lot of things with this story that bothers me. You guys know I go in on folks who leave their kids in cars. Y'all remember when I went in on that crazy ass red bitch who left her kids in the car to go see Lil Wayne? These kids fucked up my swag, but I ain't got no worries. They sitting in the car, but I ain't got no worries. Mama, you coming back? Nah, I ain't got no worries. Y'all sit and eat them snacks, cause I ain't got no worries. This venue's thick as hell, but I ain't got no worries. I'm drunk, can't you tell? But I ain't got no worries. Just got my child support, and I ain't got no worries. I know it's been 5 hours, but I ain't got no worries. Time to go check out my kids, cause I ain't had no worries. Damn, my kids is missing. Now I got some work. And then I also went in on all the parents this winter who have been leaving their kids in frozen cars to go shopping at the mall, to go get their makeup done, and to go do all types of stupid shit. This situation to me, while it's similar, while she did leave her kids in the car, I do feel bad for her. You know, it's not like she left her kids in the car to go see Lil Wayne or to go look at Chief Keef or to go get her makeup and her hair done. She left her kids in the car because she was going to a job interview. And her mugshot to me says it all. This woman is heartbroken, and she truly loves her kids, and she wants to be with her kids. She wants her kids in her life. All the other mugshots, all you saw was defiance. All you saw was folks, feeling like, oh, well, it is what it is. She is truly distraught, and that's the difference between her mugshots, Red's mugshot, and the other woman in Baltimore who was arrested for getting her makeup done while leaving her kids in a frozen car. So after this story went viral, a lot of folks, caused a lot of debate. A lot of folks are saying that she's wrong. She should have never left her kids in the car, regardless of the situation. Other folks really understand her plight and they decide to take up a donation for her. Right now she's facing felony charges. There's a website called youcaring.com and they have been able to raise over $27,000 for this woman's defense. I believe she's still in jail. They're trying to get her bailed out, but a lot of folks are coming to her support. I'm going to go ahead and post you guys some of the comments online with folks going back and forth. Like I said, some folks are supporting her. Other folks are saying that she should not be rewarded for such behavior. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys those comments right now. Okay. Okay, so you guys just saw those comments, and like I said, in my personal opinion, I do feel bad for her. I feel like she was in a very tough situation. This woman could easily just use her kids to get a welfare check, to get EBT, get food stamps, get WIC, but she's not doing that. She's trying to get a legitimate job, and none of us really know the reason why she's homeless. You know, she could have lost her job and couldn't been able to keep up on the rent. You know, folks are saying, well, we're the father, she's irresponsible, why does she have 2 kids that she can't afford to have? You know, and that may be very well true, but then again, why aren't the fathers there or the father there to help her out? You know, sometimes people find themselves in situations where they're in states and they don't have any family. You know, folks are like, well, why didn't she just take the kids to her mom or take the kids to her aunt? I'm one of those people, when I lived in North Carolina for 10 years, I didn't have any family. You know, I had to rely on coworkers, friends I met along the way to help me with my kids. We didn't have any family down there. It was just me and my husband. And I remember there was a point in time after I had my youngest son, it was so hard for us to just try and take care of our baby. With him working, me working, daycare was so expensive that we had to send our oldest son back to Minnesota to live with both our parents. Our oldest son lived with my mom and his mom part-time, you know what I'm saying, for about 4 months until we could save up enough money because it was just too hard taking care of 2 kids. I mean, it's a blessing that we had our family to, you know, basically fall back on and they could help us with our kids. But everybody doesn't have that. You know, there were times where, you know, if my husband had to work and he couldn't watch the baby and I had to work, that we had to rely on friends. And then there was even one time when I was so sick in the hospital and my husband had to work. So when he had to work, I had to be with our child. You know, I had to be with our oldest child. And he was 4 at the time and he was used to it, you know, when I would go into the hospital and stuff like that. He would be in the hospital, I would pack him up a bag and we'd have snacks for him and, you know, coloring books and everything else. Well, one day one of the hospital staff decided to get pissy and they wanted to put my son in foster care because they felt like it wasn't cool that I was in the hospital with the illness and my husband was working and that my son was at the hospital with me all day. Well, we didn't have family. We didn't have anybody to rely on to keep him, and I had gotten sick in the middle of the night. So they wanted me to literally let foster care keep my child while I was in the hospital. And I was like, hell no. Nobody's taking my child from me. I'm not allowing foster care to take my child, because what folks don't realize, a lot of people are saying, why didn't you just drop them off at the welfare office or take them to foster care? It's easy to put your kids in foster care, but it is a bitch to get your kids out of foster care. And I would never purposely put my kids in foster care, ever. And when they were trying to do that when I was in the hospital, I had to call my coworkers, I had to call my babysitter, and they all came. And while I was in the hospital for those 2 weeks, they kept my child. They kept some type of schedule going, so my child would be with one of my coworkers, and then when she'd have to work, she'd drop him off at the daycare. And they were able to, you know, keep that burden off of me while I was able to get better in the hospital. So, you know, you just never know people's situations, you know what I'm saying? And she may have a boyfriend. He might be homeless too. You know, you just don't know. I had a husband, and there are times that my son had to stay with me at the hospital because we didn't have family. We didn't have a babysitter. So I can't judge this woman too harshly. Like I said, if those babies were in the car because she was going to go on a shopping spree or go see Lil Wayne or go to a rap concert, then yes, I would be pissed. But this woman is literally trying to get herself out of poverty. She's trying to get a job. You know, folks are saying, well, she should have brought her kids into the interview. You can't bring your kids into the interview. No employer is going to hire somebody who's coming in with all types of baggage and drama. You know, if anything, when you go to meet with an employer, you want to act like you ain't got no kids, because a lot of times people look at single mothers or people with children as some type of burden, because then they feel like, oh, the kids are going to get sick, she's going to have to call out, you know. So a lot of times you don't even want your employer knowing that you have kids until after the fact. So her coming to a job interview with children in tow, she wouldn't have got that job, trust me. You know, I just feel bad for the whole situation, but again, you never want to leave your kids in the car, because if that stranger wouldn't have found those kids could have very well died. It doesn't take, you know, much of anything to kill a 6-month-old baby. And those kids were obviously in duress, that they were screaming at the top of their lungs for help. So I thank God that that stranger was there to find those kids, because it would have been a lot worse had she come out from that job interview and those children were dead. You know, but I understand her plight. I understand how it is to be desperate, how to not have anybody, you know. And one thing I will tell people this: if you are in a situation like that woman, ask for help. You know, so many times as people, especially as people of color, we can be prideful and our pride can get into the way. Do not let your pride get into the way. Ask for help. There's so many people out there who are willing to help. A lot of times we're always so quick to think that, you know, everybody's bad and, you know, everybody's willing to judge us. But some people are really willing to help. I'm just that type of person. I'm willing to help anybody. And if you guys know anything about me, I'm always looking out for people. Right now, I'm renting out a section of my home to a young gentleman who found himself homeless. His parents had to move back to Mexico. He's a hardworking kid. You know, he works 24/7. He's also in school. And he was a friend of mine. And my friend was like, you know, you have this huge space. You know, he's really looking for a place. He doesn't have any credit. And he needs a way to stack up money so that way he can get his own place. And when I met with him, I did the background check. We spoke. I got a good vibe from him. And he has been my roommate now for the past 4 months. I've had no issues with him. My kids have had no issues with him. He stays in his section of the house. Me and my kids stay in our section of the house. And my kids are usually with my mom any dang on ways when I'm not here. So, you know, it's not like they're ever left here with him or anything like that. But sometimes you have to help other people. And unless you ask for help, you never know. If that young man who stays here with me, if he wouldn't have been asking his friends for help and telling his friends that he was in a bind, they wouldn't have reached out to me to see if I could help him. You know, and I think as people, we have to be open to help others, because you never know when you might be in a time of need. You never know when you might need somebody to help you. That's why I'm always willing to help people out, because you just never know. You know, I've been in situations where I've been in a bind. I've been in situations where I've been homeless, where I didn't have a place to go. So in return, because I know how that feels, there's no way I could turn somebody away who needed a place to stay. And right now he's staying here. He's able to stack up his money. He gives me some money for rent, and you know, some days we see each other, and sometimes we might go a whole week and we only see each other on the weekends because he's working and I'm working, he's busy and I'm busy. So I think what I take away from this story is not so much to bash this woman and to judge her, but to be open to help other people. If you know that there's a young mother out there who needs help and who's trying to better herself, not the hood rat down the street who just wants to sit around on welfare and collect a check, but the ones who, you know, deep down inside, they are trying to better themselves. They're going to school, they're trying to work, but they just need help. Step up and help them. You know what I'm saying? Keep their kids for a few hours. Keep their kids for free sometime. You know, sometimes we have to start getting back in the mentality of being a community and helping other people out. It's so easy to sit back and judge and make fun of somebody as opposed to trying to help somebody in their situation. You know, so I just know for me how it is to be in that situation. I know how it is to be in a state with no family, with nobody there to turn to, and to only have friends and to only have people look out for me. And I'm grateful for all my friends and all the people who helped me out with my children while I was in North Carolina. You know, when I was in the hospital sick, you know, people would take up donations and, you know, just help me out with stuff. And it's just a blessing. It's a blessing to have people in your corner. But like I said, you have to be a good person with a good heart to receive that. You know, so you have to put out good energy into the environment. You have to help out other people. You have to be good to other people. In return, you will get that in return. Never want to turn somebody down when they're seriously in their time of need, because you never know when you might be in your own time of need. And I just feel like you receive so much more from the universe when you go out your way to help other people out. You know, just point blank period. And me and my roommate, we are very close. You know, when we do have conversations, we chop it up. And he's just so grateful that I was able to, you know, really help him out of a situation, because he was going to find himself in literally a homeless shelter because he had nowhere else to go and nobody would rent to him because he didn't have any credit. He didn't have, you know, $2,000 for first and last month's rent, a deposit. So it was just so much for him, and his parents had to go back to Mexico. There was nothing else he could do. So I'm just happy that I was able to help this young man out, and I just hope that more of us take from the story that we need to help other people out, especially those who are in need. So those are my thoughts on this situation. I hope this woman ends up getting her life together. I hope she ends up taking the money and getting a place, getting a job, you know, finding a good situation for her and her children. So go ahead, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about this situation? How do you feel about the donations that they've given her? Do you feel like, you know, she was irresponsible, that's what she gets? Or do you feel like folks need to stop judging her and that people do need to help her out? So let me know your thoughts. All right, deuces.